Like I said, I've already talked with Saplo about this stuff. I feel like you're
Hmm.
more intent on this kind of stuff. Do you remember what we were gonna talk about?
We were gonna talk about abandoned things.
Right,
I don't
exactly.
know if we were. Is it? Do you want to talk about servers, buildings, or both?
Both, I guess. Okay, so just as a like quick background, I'm doing this fucking documentary on like the history of urban exploration and basically everything that involves exploring like abandoned spaces, starting from the history of it all the way to like present day.
Hmm.
Some of why it happens, and then what it actually includes. One of the main. Well, actually, let's start somewhere earlier. Have you always gone by Z-Man?
Yeah, I've always gone by zman1064.
Okay, okay. And you're from
Botswana.
Yeah, I live in.
Botswana.
okay. You know what? Through my research, I've actually had trouble deciding what the actual definition of urban exploration or urbex actually is. Like, okay, so as a background to its history, it was basically this whole term was coined by a guy named Ninjalicious in like 1996. He was a guy from
Mhm.
Toronto who explored abandoned metro stations and like actually he also explored active hospitals. That's how he got started. He was stuck in a hospital
Really?
for like 6 months, and he started just going around fucking opening doors.
You just open doors and shit.
Yeah, and sometimes they'd kick him out, but then he would just smile, shrug it off, and whatever. Um, so the original definition is like exploring abandoned buildings, but Infiltration Magazine also says Infiltration Magazine is basically the magazine that Ninjalicious started. It just defines it as going where you're not supposed to go, right?
Yeah.
What would kind of your definition be, given that you've done some of this stuff and you did the abandoned hospital exploration as well, which I saw.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that. I went into a mall. It's this huge ass abandoned mall in, I think it's in May. It's in, let me see. I put the news thing in the chat cuz that shows my tag on it. Um
Botswana.
it was in,
Botswana.
it's like south.
Botswana.
Right.
Um I went in there. In that picture you can actually see it in the top right corner. That window, it says
Jesus,
Jesus.
holy shit.
That's, yeah, that's me. The one to the left, it says easy right there. It said Dreezy. That's my friend's tag, and you can see it has a troll face. But yeah, I made a video on that too. I made a few actually. I think I made two on that one. But I think my definition would be the same. Urban X is like you go into kind of off limits, abandoned structures or liminal type spaces, I guess, so to speak. That's kind of why I like doing it. I like doing it because it's just eerie. It's eerie. It's um it's eerie because you go in there and it's this wrecked like property. That hospital one, for example, well, actually both examples, the mall and the hospital, those are my two like most prized things that I've done. They both had electricity still, and it's just kind of eerie when you go in there and there's lights on, and you think about how there used to be people that would walk around there sometimes on a daily basis, weekly basis, and you go in there now and it's just this kind of shell, like it's just it's liminal, you know. It's like it's kind of eerie. You're in there and you know that there's, well, with the mall, you didn't know if there was anyone else in there actually, because there would be homeless people in there would be tweakers in there would be other people exploring it at the same time as you. It became really popular, the mall, at around the end of its life. It got torn down recently actually, so it's not even there anymore, but it was very popular for the last 2 years. So anytime we were in there, you never knew if there was anyone else in there. And that also kind of added to it because, like, it's this abandoned thing. There shouldn't be anyone else in there. It's kind of been left just to rot, I guess. You know, it's like this piece of civilization that isn't that isn't civilized anymore. You know, once you're in there, you're not supposed to be in there, but the police can't go in there. They're not allowed to go in there. I mean, unless some crazy shit was going on where they had to go in, they can't just go in because there's kids in there. It's really a lawless piece of of land at that point. Anything can happen in there, and it's not like you can call the police or something because you yourself are technically breaking the law. So it's like you can't get help. I'm pretty sure that mall they actually did find a body in there at one point in one of the rooms. We actually went to that room and I never recorded it or anything because out of respect for whoever passed, but they actually there was actually like a print on the ground. You could actually see the where someone was, like an
Like
outline. So they were there for a while.
some kind of fluid residue.
Yeah, like you could see an outline of a person and it was outlined in like this brownish red substance.
Jeez, that's the type of stuff you see on like professional cleaners and whatever. You ever see those videos in Japan when they clean up like shut-ins?
No, but I did see a video recently. I watch urban exploration videos. There's a few channels that do it kind of professionally. I don't know if they ask permission to go in or if they're like me where they just go in there through openings and just explore it illegally, quote unquote. But I saw one where it was this old woman's house and she had actually died in the house and there was an outline of her body because she had fallen down. It was so eerie, this video, because she had fallen down. There was a print of her on the ground. She wasn't there obviously, but her cane was still where it was when she fell. She like lost grip of it and fell down and then died and then was left there for days and she was never found, right? Until I guess they did a wellness check because like I don't know. Eventually if you're like if you don't unless you're going off grid, eventually somebody out there is going to wonder where you are, whether it be a family member or, you know, the bank or someone, or maybe your job, although I think she was retired. But there was a print on the ground in this video. And it was when I saw it, I was like, that's exactly the same type of thing I saw when I went into this mall. There was a dead ass body in there. Someone had committed a murder, left the body in there. I don't know if they did the murder in the building, but you know that just kind of added to the eeriness, I guess. And yeah, it's just that's why I find it interesting. And I guess my definition of it would be the same thing is you're going somewhere like where you're not supposed to go, basically. That's kind of what it is. And obviously it's like you're going into like a structure. So you're Urban X is going to a restricted structure, basically. Because you know, I mean, yeah, because urban is structures. Like I going out in the woods at night and going into an abandoned mall or hospital at night it's two completely different things. It's different eerinesses, it's different fears. When you're in the woods at night, you're afraid something's out there, and when you're in an abandoned structure, it's kind of the same thing, but it's not though. It feels different because it feels to me it feels more supernatural than anything. There's more supernatural fear than fear of, you know, being hunted by something, right? When you're in the woods, but I think it both boils down to just the fear of, you know, the unknown, I guess. So that's kind of my definition is you're exploring like a restricted structure. That would be my definition.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Just as a curiosity, did you since you do Minecraft content and like I asked Saplo this too. Did you grow up on Minecraft content?
Yeah, so actually, fun story. The first YouTube video I had ever watched was the Minecraft trailer. I actually found Minecraft. I didn't find it through YouTube. Most people did, but I actually didn't. My friend was playing Pocket Edition on her iPad on a car ride home from somewhere, and I asked if I could try it, and she let me play it, and I was addicted to it, and I kept playing it until I had to go home. And then when I went home, I wanted to buy the game. I wanted to play that game. So my mom had a work laptop, and we went on to buy the game so I could play it on her computer when she wasn't using it. And on the Minecraft website back then, the trailer for the game would autoplay. And I remember watching the trailer, and we actually clicked on it and went to YouTube and watched it. And I remember that being the first YouTube video I ever watched. So if my friend never showed me the game, or didn't, if my friend decided not to pull it out in that car, I probably would have never gotten to where I am right now. I probably wouldn't have found YouTube as early as I did. I probably wouldn't have garnered that interest, because when you're like a little kid, you find things interesting and they can kind of stick with you. And I think that's what happened with me. I became enamored by videos and by games. And it was funny because before that point, I actually did not, I was an outdoor kid. I didn't like games. I didn't like video games. I remember when I was like 8, I said I'd never play video games. And now I have a YouTube channel where I play games, and I got a plaque. It's kind of funny how life works. But yeah, so I started watching YouTube the same time I got Minecraft. I think it was 2013. I made my YouTube account in 2015, and I uploaded my first video in, I think, June or July of 2016. So it's been a while, and during that time, from the start to now to this day, I still watch a lot of YouTube, and that's kind of how I got into the whole thing. And I watched a lot of Minecraft. In fact, when I made my channel, my initial goal was to make Minecraft videos. That's why my first video was a Minecraft video. The irony of it is, actually, I crashed a server in my first video, but I wasn't doing it because it was pay to win. Me and my friend just thought it was funny, and we were doing it because we were like, dumb kids. Dumb kids like do funny stuff like that. And it kind of came full circle where now, my most popular videos are me crashing servers or duping. More duping now than the crashing, but there's a few of my most popular ones are me going on and crashing servers, whether it be with an exploit or with just like the amount of people that we have, because I'll stream it and like 100 people join, or like at first it was only like 20 people because I had made Unturned videos prior to that. Unturned's like a kind of
Yeah, yeah,
funny.
yeah.
It's like a mix of Minecraft and DayZ, basically. That's
Sure, I
actually
played
where I
it. Yeah.
got. Yeah, that's where I got my initial success, because it was a niche game and not a lot of people post it, so I was posting it, and that's where I got my first like 10,000 subs. And then I just decided I'm gonna try and do the anti-pay to win thing, because I had actually started doing it with Unturned. I actually didn't find it through YouTube. That was actually an original idea. It just so happened that someone else had already done it with Minecraft, but then I tried it, and I eventually found it was Horizon, actually, I think, that popularized it. And he actually, I didn't get the inspo from him, but when I started doing it myself, then I found him, and that's where I got the idea for the Minecraft video. And then that's how I got to where I am, basically. So yeah, I have been watching it for a long time. It's kind of, yeah.
Okay. There's kind of like a correlation, I think, between interest in Urbex and Minecraft. All the guys I've talked to have had at least like one Minecraft phase. And what's funny is also like the European guys that I've talked to always mention like European Minecraft channels, and like Saplo mentioned the North American one. So I don't know. That is kind of funny to me. Like even in Minecraft or in YouTube, you always segregate in terms of continent, right?
Yeah, I think there's a correlation because, I mean, if you think about it, Minecraft in itself is Urbex. If you think about it, I mean, you're in this like world, right? You spawn in, and the whole point of the game is exploring, and you'll find structures generated in this world that you're in, and you have to explore them, because there's items, like there's the desert temple, that shit's abandoned, right? There's the jungle temple that's abandoned. There's villages, but those are inhabited, so it's I don't that's kind of urbex, kind of not. I mean, like I guess it's not abandoned though, so and you're supposed to go there. But these buildings in like the specifically, like the desert temple, the jungle temple, those are the ones I ran across the most back when I played a lot of survival. They're designed where you're not supposed to go in them. You know what I mean? Because there's booby traps, but in reality you are supposed to go on them. That's the point, right? That's just the game design. But I feel like when you're a young person, that's very impressionable. I think that's why there's so much correlation. It's because that kind of programs you to be like, oh, this structure that's riddled with that you shouldn't go in, riddled with traps, you shouldn't go in there, we should go in there. I think it's a combination of kind of that programming that obviously no one really kind of intended for this kind of thing to happen, to program kids into wanting to go into places they're not supposed to go. I think it's a combination of that and just the human need and want to explore. Humans are just curious people, creatures, whatever you want to call them. They want to explore. That's kind of like the whole origin of humanity. Was the only reason we're this successful as like a species is because we explored, right? So, and the problem nowadays is that we've explored every corner of the earth, and I can't just go explore space. That's not how it works. So the only things we have left to explore are things that we've already made. So I think that's kind of like why people want to go into abandoned buildings. And I think it correlates. I think the reason a lot of people that do explore abandoned buildings also play Minecraft, I think there's a correlation because, when you play Minecraft, that's the whole point of the game. And there's multiple examples of kind of urbex in Minecraft, and they've added more stuff. Like I think that woodland mansion that's kind of abandoned. I think there's like bad guys in it, so I guess it's kind of not. But you know what I mean. That you're encouraged to explore structures in that game.
Yeah, sure.
Even like end cities too. Those are whole cities, quote unquote, that are abandoned. I mean, the people that built them. I don't know the Minecraft lore, but the whoever built them aren't there. It's just those weird shulkers that shoot things at you. So it's like it is kind of urbex. Although the only difference is like you get a reward in the game, but in real life, you don't really go into an abandoned building to like get anything. I know some people that do. I remember when I went to this abandoned mall that I mentioned already. Um, we ran into people in there. It was a dude and this chick, and they were stripping all the copper wiring. So I guess technically you could get loot in real life, but it's nothing like it's not like I go into a fucking abandoned mall and I get an elytra or some crazy shit. I'm like, if you were in there, you're gonna get more, mundane things like copper wiring, scrap metal, maybe. But yeah, it's just funny. So I can see why there's a correlation. It's because it's kind of similar, but kind of not at the same time.
Okay, yeah, you touched on so much. I'm glad we're talking. Um, you mentioned this previously. Hold up. You mentioned this previously. You touched on it for a bit. Other than obviously like people who like to steal, which we'll actually get onto in a moment. But what do you think the reasons are? I mean, I've explored tons of websites. Obviously, infiltration, UER, some other European websites. There was one website out in like Bangladesh of people exploring random shit. Like the appeals of people that I could gather were like obviously contrast with monotony. It's like something that you don't do often, right? And then connecting with the past. That was something that you mentioned with the lady's house who had passed away, right?
Yeah.
Another thing was salvaging. So even though the building may not have its original use, now it serves another function. There was the chance of macabre. A lot of people were visiting places of interest, just trying to find something that would be dark or like messed up, I guess. And then the last
I
one
mean, yeah,
was
you can find that. Oh, I just said that is something you can find. I mean, I found remnants of where someone was murdered, so you can find that if you're looking for dark shit, that is probably where you would find it. I'm not gonna lie.
but do you think that's appealing? Like, do you think that that's actually like a bonus?
So I think it depends on who you are as a person. Me personally, I don't go into abandoned buildings to see if I could find a scene of a murder. I mean, I can see why some people would maybe find that as an appeal or a bonus, but me personally, I don't know. Like, I saw that place where someone was murdered, and it was like shocking. Maybe that's why people like it, because of the shock value. I was shocked at first, and then I was just sad because that was someone that was doing probably what we were doing, and that was where their story ended. So it was sad for me, but I can see why. But that's because I added the human element. Some people could take that out and just be shocked and then probably move on with their day. But I don't know. To me, like that was like a scene that was like, it didn't feel real when I saw it. It didn't feel real. It felt weird. It felt made up. Felt like something like I said, like I saw something like that in a video where someone had died in their house, right? And I remember watching that video and I was like, dude, I've actually seen this in real life, but there are people out there that will watch this video and they don't know the feeling of actually being in the presence of the exact position of somebody that actually like they were alive and now they're not. Now they're dead. Someone died. That's like that's like the worst thing that could happen to someone is them dying, basically.
Unless you're an artist, I guess then then it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, yeah. Another thing that I found was like the chance of failure. A lot of people were talking about like how gambling on this kind of stuff is also a bonus, I guess. Like, you could show up to a spot you want to explore, and it could be like boarded up or something.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned this because I've got a story. So, one of the times we were going into the abandoned mall, there were other people there. They were like these high school kids. I think they were probably in ninth or 10th grade. And they were trying to get in this hole. It was a very narrow gap. So, it was a door boarded up, but boards were removed, and there was this kind of gap. It wasn't very wide though, right? And two of these kids had actually already went in, but the other ones were just kind of chickening out outside. So we were there and I was thinking about it and I was like, dude, all we're like fucking 10 people just standing right here. We're definitely gonna get caught. So I was like, let me try to go in because I'm a pretty slim person. I'm not very like bulky. I'm like a slim Jim, I'm not. I mean, I'm only like I'm 6'1". I'm only like 140 pounds. So back then, when this happened like a year ago, I was probably 6'1.5". I was probably like 120. I was pretty thin, so I was like, I could definitely fit through this gap. And I was going into the gap, and I was getting stuck, and it wasn't because I was too big. It's because my belt on my pants were like getting me stuck in this gap. So my friend Jordan was there. Shout out Jordan. And he was trying to help me. So he was trying to get my belt undone. Like we were trying to get it loose. And then he stops and looks, and I look, and then a fucking bright ass light gets shined at him and everybody. And I hear a siren. And then at that point, he lets go of me, and I fell into the building. And then at this point, I just ran in there because I didn't want to get caught. I was literally, if I had gotten caught, I would have been caught red handed, like with trespassing. My foot was in the door, literally. So I ran into this building, and the other two kids were in there, and they were tweaking the fuck out because they're like these high school fucking just got into high school kids. They were tweaking. I wasn't really tweaking. I was pretty calm because I had been in this building before. I knew where I was, or at least I thought I did. So I was trying to calm them down, and we were walking. And while we were walking, we walked through like this hole. So this was like, it was either like a Macy's or no, it wasn't a Macy's. It was a J.C. Penney, which is like a store. No, it wasn't a J.C. Penney's. It was a Dillard's. We were in a Dillard's, and you know how there's like the big anchor stores in a mall, and then there's doors to get in from the outside, but there's also doors to get in from the mall and to go into the mall. So you could go into a big anchor store and then walk into the actual mall with all the shops. We had found that wall, the boarded up section of this store, that had, once been the entrance in and out of the store into the mall itself, right? It was boarded up, but there was a hole, and I had been to this hole before. I tried convincing these guys to go in, and they like were yelling at me and shit, and they were like tweaking out, and they were scared and all this. This is one thing I wish I recorded because it was so crazy. This is another thing where it's like, how is this even real? I walked in there, and then they were walking away, and I would stick my head through the hole. I'm like, are you sure you guys aren't going? And then like they looked, and they didn't even say anything. I walk into this mall, and then I hear something behind me, so I duck into a store, and these two guys, they go through the hole, and they're standing there, and they're just standing there like dead still. And I get my flashlight, and I start like blinking it at them to try to get them to come in so I could maybe help us all get out. And they just went back through the hole, and then I didn't see them again. Although while I was walking around, I always heard something, so maybe they did go in. I don't entirely know, but I actually walked around without my light. So I was in there by myself without a light, and I was in there for an hour, and my friends were texting me, and for some reason I thought the police may have gotten their phones. So I was just sending them on a wild goose chase outside. I'd sent them to like a Target. I said I had gotten out and I walked to a Target. It was just funny, and that is definitely a part of it. Wrapping this all comes back to what you were saying about like the appeal, that like the gambling, that it could fail. That was a gamble, right? Us being there trying to get in, that was it. Every time we would try to get into this building, there was a few times where there was just a hole that we could go through, but there were numerous times where Dreezy, the other guy that tagged that other window that I showed you, he actually like he would crowbar through the like emergency side doors, and that's how we would get in. I wouldn't do it because I didn't want to personally break and entering, but he was willing to do it at that time. So we would be there standing there, and he would be trying to get the door open. And yeah, it's like gambling. There's a thrill to that whole thing where you could get caught, and there was a time where I almost did. I didn't get caught. I was the only person out of my group of friends that didn't get caught. They didn't get a ticket or anything. They got like a warning and their names written or some shit. I didn't get caught for that. That was like a big gamble, me running in there and then trying to get out without a light. I didn't want to turn the light because I really didn't know if they would try to come and get me. I didn't even know, because I had thought they'd seen me fall into the building, but they actually didn't. The police they didn't see me. I guess I wasn't sticking out as far as I thought. But so yeah, it is like a gamble. It's a gamble, and that kind of does add to it, I think.
Okay. Last appeal that I found, which was actually the predominant appeal throughout my research, of course, like that's limited, but was the sense of community factor. A lot of people felt like they made cool friends, or the friendships that they had before were furthered by Urbex experiences, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, Dreezy, the guy I've been mentioning, a little bit through this whole talk we've had here. The actual reason why so let me explain how I met Dreezy, aka
Nemo.
Me and Nemo met because through Unturned. It was actually through Unturned. He had known who I was because he watched my videos. And at that time, like 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure it was roughly a year and a half ago, I was doing like giveaways, and one of the like specifications for the giveaways were to like follow me on Instagram, and he had followed me for a giveaway, and he had seen me post pictures on my Instagram and like on my story of me going into this abandoned building, the mall, and he had recognized it because he had actually wanted to go into this building. He had not been able to get in. He wanted to go, and he saw me posting pictures in there. He messages me through like one of the stories I posted, and he's like, "Is that
Botswana
Mall?" Which is the name of the mall we would go into. And I said, "Yeah." And eventually we actually met up. And the first time me and
Nemo
hung out, we actually went into
Botswana
the mall. And that's how I met him. And now he's like my I would say he's my best friend at this point. He's like the closest friend I have right now. And I met him and I met a lot of other people through him, and we would all go into this building. So yeah, I mean, that is probably, yeah, that's accurate. The community thing, like I wouldn't have met this guy if he hadn't known about the abandoned building, or known me. And now I know him and I'm friends with him, and we all hang out because we went into the abandoned structure. So, and we've gone to other places too. There's a lot of stories. I can't say all of them, because one in particular, because it's a little suspect. I don't want to I don't want to get charged for something. Something happened. I didn't like. It wasn't like a crime where like we fucking killed someone or something or did bodily harm, but like there was a building we went into where there was an alarm and cameras, and someone saw us exiting. So that's all I'll say. But yeah, I met my best friend through Urbex.
Wow, okay, that's very cool. Yeah, you haven't like in any way been harmed physically, like bodily from Urbex, have you?
No, no, I haven't. No, no,
Okay.
I've never. I mean, I've probably like minor injuries, like maybe I got cut by something. There's this funny video where we were like kicking in this already broken glass, and I kicked it, and while I was kicking it, I fell down. And like, yeah, I'm sure maybe I got like a little bruise from that, but no, I've never like broken any bones in an abandoned building or jumped off a railing or something. We keep it pretty close to the chest, I think, in that regard. We don't really try to do any crazy shit. I know. I mean, we could have, because I won't lie. I can say this because this mall is demolished now. I don't really think anybody would get charged for anything. That, and plus I don't think any person, law enforcement, would see your video, but
Nemo.
would fucking get a bunch of paint cans, and he'd go into this mall and he'd blow them up. You could get injured from that, but we never got injured. But he'd like make bombs in there. I was there for one. That was a dumb thing, but I think his friend got hit by shrapnel, but I've personally never been injured by anything, but you definitely could. I mean, there's a lot of unsafe things. I mean, there's a lot of railings, for example, in this building that I'm talking about, or that I have talked about a lot. There's a lot of buildings, like, they're not structurally sound because, there's numerous things like structural damage, water damage. The railings weren't secure anymore. The abandoned hospital that I went into had asbestos in it that could like harm you for life. Thankfully, me and
Nemo.
fine. Not only that hospital, it was weird because it was attached to an actual active hospital. There was a section of this facility that was abandoned, and it was just water leaking onto the floor. There was still lights, which was weird, but water leaking. They were tearing it down because of asbestos. You could breathe in some toxic shit. I mean, not just asbestos, black mold. That was like a huge worry we always had going into these things. We'd always make sure we don't see black mold. There's a lot of ways you could get injured, not just bodily. I mean, like through the air, because the air could not be safe.
Sure, yeah. I just asked that because there was this huge story back in like 2016, 2017 of this one woman from Canada. I forget her name, but it was on The Guardian, so it was massive fucking news. She basically was exploring some kind of abandoned building, and it was, of course, in Canada, so like light structures, not like the European brick buildings. And
Yeah.
she fell through 3 floors and then was arrested. So,
Did they send her to the hospital first before they arrested
yeah,
her?
of course. But,
Okay, good.
you know,
Can you
just
imagine if you fell through 3 floors and then they just arrest you?
no, of course not. I mean,
No, but
obviously, it's like,
that could happen. 100%. I wasn't there for this, but I'm pretty sure
Nemo.
was telling me one time he had a friend. It wasn't,
Botswana.
I think it was a different mall, because there's a few abandoned malls in the
Botswana.
metropolitan area, right? He had a friend where he stepped through the floor. I don't think they were on a second story, so it was like it kind of just fell through into like dirt or something like that. But yeah, the buildings aren't structurally sound when they're abandoned, so yeah, I mean that can happen.
Sure, yeah. Okay, I'll get on to the topic which actually I think is the most interesting, and especially because I'm talking with you, um,
Mm-hmm.
which is there's huge like division in the forums that I've looked up, especially places like abandonedamerica.com,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like what actually constitutes vandalism for abandoned buildings, right? So
Yeah.
I just want to get your opinion. Like what is vandalism in terms of like you've engaged in graffiti, which we'll also talk about, but what do you think is vandalism in terms of like, let's say I find an abandoned building, let's say it's like still intact somewhat, like maybe there's items on the shelves, like I don't know, papers here and there, maybe a photo, but nothing particularly valuable, right? It's like what would
Yeah.
constitute vandalism?
Um, smashing the walls, breaking all the shelves and shit. I mean, that abandoned mall. I remember when we first went in it, and it was fucked up, but it was like in okay condition. They were even thinking about repurposing the building at one point. They left blueprints and equipment in there, and I actually took some. So I have the blueprints of that building, which is funny. But at the end, like I remember the last time we went in there, it was fucking wrecked, and we don't like doing that particularly. I mean, we'll leave some. Obviously, we left graffiti, right? But we never really did it inside that much. We did it a few times, but the real reason we did it in that picture I sent was because of that little area. So that was like a Dick's Sporting Goods, and it were these windows that they would put advertisements in or something, or like I don't know, store artwork, whatever, right? We had found that area after exploring it like the fifth time we went in, we found it, and we were able to get the doors open, and it was good because we could get the doors open and no one else could because we were the ones with the proper tools. Most people that went in there didn't have the proper tools. So we went and just tagged our aliases because we thought it was cool. That is vandalism. Breaking the glass and shit, just just breaking shit, that's vandalism, obviously. Um, Setting things on fire, which I mean, we did that as well. We never set the building on fire though. We'd make a little, they
Nemo.
would make like these little fires and then put paint and then it would explode. I remember one time you told me though the fire was so big it was starting to burn the ceiling, like there was marks on the ceiling, so he had to put it out. I mean, that's arson. To be honest, that's arson. That could be added to it. I like to when we find abandoned things, we don't like breaking shit. I mean, obviously, I just said that my friend was blowing shit up. That was after the building had already been just wrecked. So there wasn't really any I guess there wasn't really any harm at that point. But if we had went into that mall before other people got into it and started breaking shit, we wouldn't really have broken anything because I think if an abandoned building is in good condition, it's cooler than if it's just wrecked. If it's just wrecked and like, oh yeah, like some other people have been here, it's destroyed all this shit. If it's like in good condition, that's like it makes it more. I mean, I would say it makes it more liminal. Going back to that story of that video where the guy found a dead body or the dead body print in this house. Obviously he didn't say where that location was because he didn't want it getting vandalized. That's a big thing with abandoned structures is it's very gate kept. If you find a new abandoned building, you gatekeep it because you don't want it getting destroyed. But yeah, what would I count as like vandalism? If you find like an abandoned store and you just break all the shelves and just make it completely unwalkable, that's vandalism.
Okay, I'm really glad you mentioned like a grocery store, um, because that's exactly one of the cases that I stumbled upon. So one of the main resources for finding urban exploration sites is UER, which was founded by Ninjalicious' friends, basically. And it's this long-term forum, is the longest one regarding urban exploration. There was a particular case on it, I think it was like 2006, 2005, something like that, where this one dude posted, without posting the location, posted pictures of a grocery store in Japan that was completely abandoned, but also completely integral, right? Like there were whiskey bottles on the shelf still, and they were full. And so everything was just gathering dust. And then the whole discussion came raging in when 2 weeks later, this guy claimed that he had visited the site and it was okay. There was a bunch of shit to see there, and there were no looters, nothing broken, whatever. And then the same guy, the original poster, went back about 2 months later and posted that a couple of items were now missing. And he asked the second poster whether he had taken something, and then the poster guy replied, "Yes, I had taken something," and he was banned immediately. Right? He did not vandalize the place; he just took a couple of items. In terms of like, do you think that sentiment of like leaving it exactly as you found it is correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I like was just saying about the gatekeeping. You know, you don't want when you find something like that, like an abandoned building, and if it's completely untouched already, like if you're the first person in there to find it, then you want to leave it untouched. And I mean, though I will say this, the guy took something, he didn't break anything. In my opinion, maybe it's a I don't know, because you said this was in Japan. Maybe it's a cultural thing because I'm an American, and you know how Americans are, right? We, the world is ours type mindset. That's kind of how it is over here. That's kind of what people kind of lean into a lot. I don't think it's something deliberately taught. Like you're not in school and the teachers are saying the world is yours, but that's kind of like the American mindset, right? And I think over there it's a lot different. I think they're a lot more respectful in places like Japan and all those other countries. So I think to them, if you find something, nothing should be took. Everything should be exactly the same. Me particularly, if I'm in an abandoned store that's been completely untouched and I see like a $100 bottle of whiskey on the shelf, I would probably take it. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think as long as you're not destroying shit and you're just leaving it, but if you're taking stuff, because in my opinion, I think, isn't that kind of a waste, leaving perfectly good alcohol or, items that are completely functional and good working condition? Like say you found say you were in like a abandoned like an abandoned Best Buy with all the technology left in it, which that wouldn't happen. Let's say hypothetically you found it, no one else knew about it, and all of the stuff was just in there kind of collecting dust. I don't think it would be a horrible thing to take some stuff. However, I do think, you shouldn't take everything. In my opinion, it shouldn't be a thing with it shouldn't be you shouldn't bring materialism into it, so to speak. But, me personally, I would have taken, perfectly good alcohol just so it doesn't go to waste, because that's just kind of the person I am. That's just my opinion though. I'm sure a lot of people feel differently. I'm sure some people would be, they would leave everything there exactly as it was. I think that's cool. I think that's what people should do. I'm just saying, like, from my perspective, me personally, if I'm in a store and I see some expensive ass, like, food, drinks just in there and they're just going to go bad, like, I wouldn't let that happen personally, but I can understand it that they would ban the guy, but I also think that's low-key kind of like they kind of crazy with it. They kind of strict with it.
Yeah, sure. I guess it's just hard drawing the line of like it's a site policy, so I guess for moderators and like whoever's running the site, I guess drawing the line between like, oh well, I took this so it doesn't go to waste, to like I took this painting because, well, it's going to be destroyed otherwise.
Yeah, maybe they banned him because they don't want to encourage looting. Maybe that's why they banned him.
Yeah, so in general, you think looting is vandalism?
Yeah, I think if you and your buddies go in there with fucking duffel bags and just start fucking just taking everything and you're being reckless with it, like you know how people rob houses? They'll fucking rip through everything and like you'll come home and your house is a complete mess and everything's gone. They definitely would do it the same way for an abandoned structure, even more so because, you know, it's abandoned and they'd probably even like wreck shit. I think that would be vandalism.
Sure, yeah. I guess you consider graffiti to be vandalism too, right?
Yeah, I would say so. For me, this is like my policy on it or my way of thinking. If I were to stumble upon like an abandoned store or whatever, completely untouched, I wouldn't do anything. If I'm going to a store that's already been destroyed, then yeah, I'll tag something. That's kind of my policy. If I'm the first one to find it, I'm not going to be the first one to destroy something. If it's already been destroyed, then I wouldn't just start wrecking shit, but you know, we'd probably goof off, tag something, you know, maybe kick in already broken glass like I said earlier.
Sure, yeah. Um, what do you think of like moving stuff? I know this is kind of a dumb question, but what about like rearranging stuff? Because technically, that's not it's not destroying anything. Maybe it's destroying the environment as it was before, but it's not destroying any items.
Rearranging things. If you find an abandoned building, should you move stuff? I me personally, I wouldn't. I would just leave everything as it was. Of course, if I'm in there with friends and I mean, what do you count as moving? Because like, what if I sat down in a chair and it moved? Is that moving it?
Sure, I'll give you an example. One of the forum discussions, which is actually like one of the later posts, like 2019 or something, there was this music video that they referenced, which was like this guy rummaging through an abandoned building, and somebody actually posted which abandoned building it was because people were looking at it closely. Um, and basically in the video, like whoever the fuck is in the like an actor is moving shit around. Like I guess one of the things was like throwing shit, which technically didn't destroy anything. At least it didn't seem like it in the video, but people were still kind of upset. Well, somewhat upset. I'm not gonna say that they were like super angry at him, but still.
I mean, I don't know. I think from what it sounds like, it kind of sounds like these people are taking from this forum specifically, from what you've told me. It kind of sounds like they're treating it like a nature reserve. You know how like and they're like the nature photographers because you know how you know the doctrine of photographers that take photos of nature, right?
Sure, yeah, don't interact with anything.
Yeah, don't touch anything. Don't interact with anything. You could be recording like a baby seal getting like ripped to shreds. You can't intervene, things like that. I think that sounds like the doctrine these people are kind of taking. It sounds like they are treating it like a reserve. It's like that's kind of like a human reserve, but it's not like because there's humans there. It's like a time capsule. They want to keep it exactly the way it was when it was abandoned, frozen. That's kind of what it sounds like. I think that's valid. I would do it like that personally. I would do that. Um, it's just the where I live, most of the abandoned structures that I've been in have already been touched. However, I will give an example of a recent building I've been to that we never vandalized anything or we left everything untouched. There's this building in like South Phoenix called Mystery Castle. It was this building constructed out of like nothing. This guy just built this building. He built it for his daughter that had polio in like the 1900s or something, like a long ass time ago. And it was a tourist attraction. Like they would do tours of it and stuff. And it eventually around I think it was around COVID, it was closed temporarily and it hasn't reopened. And since then, people go in there and explore it, and it is in pretty miraculous condition. There's a few broken windows, but it's basically in perfect condition minus some broken windows. And I'm pretty sure the broken windows are from people throwing rocks at it from outside. They didn't actually go in and break anything. No graffiti with that building because of how good of condition it was in, and because like of the history. We didn't tag it or break anything. I think it depends on the building. If it's in perfect condition, then I wouldn't touch anything. I would leave it all exactly how it was. If it's something that's already been fucked up, then then yeah, sure, I'll maybe leave a tag at most. Maybe like we'll do a bit, because when I like the story where I broke, like I fell down breaking like already broken glass, like
Nemo.
wanted to do some like funny video or something, so I partook because um I like content, I like funny stuff, so I was gonna partake. Also, it's funny memories, so that's my opinion.
Yo, I'm just reading. I was listening, but I pulled up the Wikipedia page for Mystery Castle. Yo, what the fuck? Said to be held together by a combination of mortar, cement, calcium, goat milk, stone, adobe, and automobile parts.
Yeah, no, it's like the guy just built it from scratch. It
Wow.
wasn't like a construction project. It was some guy. What year does it say? Because I forget, but I know it was like a long ass time ago.
It doesn't say a particular year, but 1930s.
Yeah, so like almost 100 years ago, 90 years ago, he just built it from scratch.
Yeah. This reminds
That's
me. Go
the
ahead.
crazy one that I've been to. That building's it's not the craziest because I think an abandoned mall is crazier, but that one's the most interesting, I'd say. And it had electricity too.
Oh yeah. So it says here, electricity and plumbing were added in 1992. Extensively vandalized on March 6th, 2022, the Mystery Castle suffered an estimated $100,000 in damage.
Yeah, it's probably the broken windows and some doors I think were kind of broken because you could actually go in it, but it's actually in like really good condition still. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that and like the windows being broken and then it rains, dust storms, all that stuff happens out here. So, I could see that causing damage too.
Sure, yeah. You know what? It actually kind of reminds me of this one place in Spain. Do you know about this? There was this one old man who built an entire cathedral by himself.
Really? I haven't heard of it.
Justo Gallego Martinez, and he built Don Justo's Cathedral until 2021 when he passed away. So basically, what happened? Yeah, 1961 he had to leave prior to making his final vows when he contracted tuberculosis. And then when he recovered, he decided that he would make this huge cathedral by himself. I don't know if it's been completed, but man,
I'd hope so.
it really looks beautiful. I send you the Wikipedia if you want.
Yeah, I'll go look right now. Yeah, that does sound similar. Yeah, this guy built this like building. It's not really a castle, but he built it from scratch in the 30s because his daughter got polio.
Yes, it says here for his daughter Mary Lou Gully. After learning he had tuberculosis, Gully moved from Seattle to the Phoenix area and began building the house from found or inexpensive materials.
Yeah, he was just building it by himself.
Doesn't say here that his daughter. It says here that his daughter inherited the Mystery Castle in 1945, at which point she would have been like 20 something.
Yeah, that's crazy. I know he built it because I thought she caught polio or something. He built it for them So I guess it did get to his daughter, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading the thing right now. Yeah, this is like a similar thing, but this is like way crazier. This guy's building a whole ass church out of nothing. All of that was him?
Yeah, all of that was him, except for well, the Wikipedia says that his nephews helped him out because he was. I mean, he was like 96 when he died, so you'd think a few years he would take it easy.
Yeah. They had to have used like some fucking machinery, right, to fucking build this shit.
Let me see.
You think? Because I see they were trying to build a dome. How are they going to do that?
Most of the building materials and tools used for the construction are recycled. This includes everyday objects and excess construction materials donated by construction companies and a nearby brick factory. For example, the columns have been molded with old petrol drums. The building work has been carried out without any crane. Jesus Christ.
So they were just Minecrafting this shit.
Yeah, for real.
They were just building it brick by brick. Or when did he start this? The 60s, you said?
Yeah, after 62. Yeah.
So, and he died 2021, and he was still working on it like this entire time. So that's how many years is that? 60 years, 70 years, 60? I think 60 years, probably 60 years.
Yeah, says here, Gallego usually began his workday at 6 a.m. and worked for 10 hours a day, except on Sundays.
I mean, I wonder how he did that. Like, what do you, like, how does he get money?
Donations
nephew?
from the locals.
Oh, so it was like a community kind of project.
Sure, yeah.
The community was helping him. Like, he was building it, they would give him money. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, this is like the building I was talking about times like 1,000, pretty much. Because that castle, it's big, but I mean, this is like a whole ass church, and it looks like it's like that shit looks tall as hell. That looks like a 4-story building at least.
The building is about 40 meters, which is 130 feet in height.
That's crazy.
Giant, right? Just gigantic. Well, all right. Last thing I wanted to ask you about, like, one of the conversations I had with Saplo was regarding griefing, I guess, which is basically like online vandalism, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to know your thoughts on it, especially you, because you obviously did like overloading servers, crashing servers, like destroying pay to win shit, duping. I just want to know, like, what's your policy when it comes to that kind of stuff?
Or are you talking about if I for example, in my most recent video, we took the owner of a like 12-year-old base back to his base on this abandoned anarchy server, and we walked through his base, and his base was like completely untouched. Are you talking about stuff like that?
No, although I would love it if you talked about like what was that actually? Just as a quick like tangent, what was that experience like? Like getting someone or like showing someone something that they built and is still around somehow.
It was like, I don't think that has ever been done before, ever. I don't think anyone has ever. First of all, like already, it's an anarchy server, and it's this huge base. It's not like this small little shack. It was a huge build. It was a build. They had crafted their own lore. It was constructed. It had canals or like aqueducts and shit. It was big. Like if you were running by it, you would see it, right? It was on an anarchy server, and the entire thing was untouched for like over 10 years. No one had ever found it. So that's already rare because it's an anarchy server. Anarchy servers, they're not like as plethorant. Is that even a word? Plethorant? I made my own. I made my own word. There's not as many of them as there was back in the day. Back in like 2013, there was a lot of them. Now there's not a lot of them. So it's already rare that the server's still up, even though it has no players on it ever, and this base is there. But then the craziest part about it, that's already like a 1 in a million. But then being able to locate the owner and take them through the base and have them explain to you the construction of some of the things and the lore and all this stuff, because they like it was like a deep it's I don't think it's ever been done. It was an experience. Like that was like, I think it's funny because that video didn't like go crazy, but I think that is one of the craziest videos I've ever like put out, in my opinion, because that's some like rare shit.
Sure, yeah. That's kind of why I asked. I just feel like most people don't get to experience stuff like that, and especially like the whole shocking thing about the video, right? Is not really like this person's still caring about. I forget their name, but yeah, the World of Warcraft guy still caring about his creation. It was more so that his creation was almost integrally there, right? Like nobody had done anything to it.
No, yeah, it was untouched completely. There was some minor damage. For example, they had written books with all the lore. They like wrote their own lore, their own story. And the guy that picked it up, he was walking out of that room that he found it in. A creeper blew up and killed him and destroyed the books. He screenshotted them, retyped them, put them back in the chest. There's a hole there now. It's not like a huge hole, but there's a hole there. But yeah, like there's, besides that though, untouched completely, everything works. There's a nether base as well. That's actually how this guy found the base. He didn't find it in the overworld. He actually found the nether section of the base, which was insane. It was huge. It was like this huge thing in the nether. It was built into a nether fortress. It had like a blaze farm, automatic like blaze farm. It was impressive. It was crazy. It completely untouched. Like no player damage, minus the thing I just mentioned, but that wasn't deliberate. No one actually went and fucking blew it up, to my knowledge. Now that it's been on YouTube twice, it might get blown up now. That's just how it goes. But I think they got a world download of it, and I think, well, it's been documented, so it's like been saved. But yeah, it's crazy. That's the only, it's untouched for 12 years, around 12 years, 10 or 12 years.
Yeah. Yeah, going off from the tangent, I just meant in terms of like your policy, not of okay, so when I talked to Saplo, one of the very nuanced takes he had was I think the sentence that he used exactly was like, I wouldn't want to build a castle if I knew that it was going to be encased in like a glass bubble or whatever. So in terms of griefing, do you I guess just what's your kind of policy on it? Obviously, you target like pay to win servers and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. Just can you explain that to me for a second?
I think griefing and trolling and all of that stuff is valid if the recipient deserves it, so to speak. That's my policy.
That's just it.
Yeah, like I wouldn't just go on and crash random servers, right? I wouldn't just dupe on a random server because I want to be the richest person on the server. That's no, like when I do the duping videos and when I do the server crashes or any video where I'm trolling, because I did a lot of videos where I trolled people. It wasn't just to be an asshole. It's because they did something themselves where I believe they deserve to get trolled. Like, for example, back when I made unturned videos, I did a lot of trolling videos, but it wasn't just to troll, so to speak. I mean, okay, I'll be honest, like we troll roleplay servers, and yeah, we were there just to troll, but it evolved from that. That's what it evolved from. But my style of trolling, I guess, so to speak, was it evolved from that to trolling people that deserve to get trolled. People that are toxic, we would troll them. They'd get like a taste of their own medicine, so to speak. And then that evolved into the kind of the anti-pay to win. The server, in my opinion, like pay to win servers, in my opinion, they deserve, that's if they are being, if it's greedy, if they're practically scamming their players, if they're doing fake sales, if they're doing malicious things, I think they deserve to get, trolled, griefed, etc. I wouldn't just go and grief just for fun. I've always done it because it's kind of like it's a little bit like vigilante justice. Like I'm responding to someone doing something deemed not okay by what would the word be for it? It's like if someone slaps someone, so then I slap them, right? It's like if someone slap like let's say someone slaps like some random kid and then I go and slap them. Like violence isn't the answer, right? You should never be violent with someone. Like I could go over to them and say, "Hey, don't you slap someone. That's not right." But no, I slap them. It's kind of like I don't know what you would call that, but that's kind of what I do in a digital sense. I know that was kind of a weird example, but
No, I get what you mean. Do you think another take that Saplo had was that I guess, well, it kind of feeds into his first point. If like, well, why would I construct something in an anarchy server or like in any server really if it can't be destroyed? That's kind of like not even building it in the first place. Do you think that like griefers actually make like the fact that there are people who dedicate their time, not all of it, but like at least some of it, like Pop Bob, for example, obviously fucking meme, whatever. But do you think people like that make the game more interesting or more fun?
yeah, I would say so. I don't know if Pop Bob griefed outside of 2B2T, but it's an anarchy server. Anything is allowed. So someone could come in and say, "Oh, I'm going to destroy everything that everyone builds," and they could kind of be like a menace. That makes it more interesting, in my opinion. That's like an antagonist type of situation. I personally like me. Like if I found someone's fucking castle, I wouldn't just blow it up. Like I said, I would only destroy something or take a more malicious route, so to speak, if I had felt that person had like deserved, that treatment. So, but that would make it that is because if it's an anarchy server and everyone's just building and no one wants to grief each other, that's not really entertaining. I mean, Pop Bob is so infamous because that is like it's kind of like a Joker-esque character if you kind of think about it. It's someone that like there is no order. There's only like destruction. That was Pop Bob. That's why it's interesting.
Okay, yeah. I don't really have any more questions. Like, do you have any more reflections or I don't know?
Any more reflections? I personally have 2 mirrors in my bathroom, so I have like 2 reflect. No, I'm kidding.